You're listening to Local Rapport, a community podcast where people in Calhoun County, Texas, and the surrounding areas share their roles, opinions, and life experiences. By listening, I'm confident you will appreciate the people that call this coastal land home, one story at a time. I'm your host, Sam Flores, and up next is this week's guest. So, one of the first things I wanted to bring up with you, all right, is the fact that whenever I was making like a list of people I wanted to interview, even though, you didn't even know this podcast existed or anything like that, I know for a fact, I need to find it again, but you were definitely like the first 5 names I wrote down. And so it took a while to get to you. And I like that it was kind of organically, it wasn't like I was, beating down the door of your house to get you on. Yeah. It just kind of happened. But for me, when I think of you and as you get to introduce yourself here, I think of, man, this is a definitive local, for Calhoun here,
Yeah.
You got.
Well, born and raised, 1965 is when I was born, one of 7. So it's
huge family, man.
Yeah.
That's huge to me. I'm one of 2. So.
Yeah, it was a huge family. I mean, you learn to eat first. When they say supper's ready, you rush to the table.
Yeah.
And you're going to eat whatever's on the plate. You learn to like a lot of food
because it's like being without, right?
That's right.
Probably worse off than being picky.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, and I wouldn't say that. Everybody, you spoil your kids. There are some things that I think back now, like Brussels sprouts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I like them now. I think
Sure.
The older you get, what do they say? Your palate changes or something like that.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. So I just think, as you get older, your taste buds change. Everything changes. You eat more spinach. I hated spinach as a kid. Had to eat it. Now I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, they used to stuff spinach in my bottle, so I didn't even know I was eating spinach. And then then when you actually
no, that's
see
the
it,
Hispanic thing. They make the tea. When you're not your tummy hurts, they go and pull a few. I thought they were weeds, but apparently they're healing herbs. They make a tea and you drink the tea and you feel better.
Oh man, I bet there's like a fun amount of tricks that you learned along the way, just from your family.
There was a lady right down the road that could take care of you.
The neighborhood lady.
There was always one, right? In Hispanic.
In our community, look out for it. Yeah. Yeah. I'd be out, playing outside with some friends, and then, you scrape your knee or whatever. They would have an aloe vera plant on hand.
That's right.
Here you go. Put it on your knee. You're good.
Yeah, the aloe vera is good for anything.
Anything. Yeah. That's what they were putting in her drinks.
That's right.
So, big family. And yeah, you came to my mind because, many folks I would imagine, who are tuning in and checking this out, you may not be a stranger to them. Chances are, just by the sheer amount of involvement that, we were chatting a little bit earlier about seeing a need and meeting a need. Right. And, that's kind of how you may find yourself in the middle of things kind of going around in this town.
Yeah, and I have. I mean, even I think once I went out on my own.
Okay.
I always told my parents, I didn't. Once I turned 19, I wanted to get out of the house.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and once I left the house, I never went back. And it's funny because our son did the same thing. He told us, I'm going to turn 19, I'm leaving, I'm not coming back. And, he became very independent. That's what he is now. But I'd see somebody needing a help with a tire change or broke down or needs some gas. It's what God puts in your heart, right? You're supposed to help others. And, even somebody just looking for a handout, you do what makes you, what you feel that is right for you, and then, you move on.
Yeah.
You be that little light for somebody, to if somebody sees you, somebody's with you, you don't boast about it, of course.
Yeah.
You just do what you feel is right and move on to the next day.
Right. Well, and that's what comes to my mind, like if I'm talking with somebody, it's funny how sometimes your name could get brought up, like, oh yeah, Roland came by and he patched this up for me, or he looked into this for me, or he helped me out finding this connection for my vehicle if it had, repair need or something. And
yeah, that's what's crazy, because as the one of 7, so I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. And
you're the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I'm in the middle. So who was in the middle in the Brady bunch? Was it Marsha? I can't remember.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So of the bunch. So, but so growing up, I of course went through what's HJM now. What used to be
It had a different name.
Well, it used to be separate schools.
Okay.
Madison was actually at one time a high school. And they tore it down. That was a great school. It had the old wooden floors and the gym, wooden bleachers. So it was Harrison, Jefferson, and Madison. And so that's how they have HJM.
HJM.
And I went through there, open campus. I remember being in Madison, the 5th grade.
You're right.
Open campus. We used to walk across the Virginia Street to the pharmacy at lunch.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, for lunch. And have grilled cheese. Inside the pharmacy, they had a deli.
Yeah.
And he still had those metal stools. And we'd sit down and have a grilled cheese sandwich and a Coke float.
And this was in high school?
No.
No.
I'm talking about.
That's what I'm trying to
yeah.
You're
So it was always open campus.
Goodness, man. The amount of independence and freedom to stretch your legs like that.
It was crazy, being in 5th grade.
5th grade. Okay.
5th grade and being able to.
Yeah. It's almost like I couldn't believe you. That's why I'm like, high school, right?
No.
And you're like,
no.
Dude, no, I was in elementary.
So Travis, Travis used to have 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay.
No, I take that back. So it might have been the 6th grade, because Travis had 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Okay.
The high school only had 3 grades, 10th, 11th, 12th. So when I went to Travis, we lived, I'd say, a quarter of a mile from Travis. So we went home for lunch. Got to Travis, lunchtime hit, run to the house, have a home-cooked meal.
Yeah.
Run back to the school. And, so I never ate school food.
You didn't need to, man.
Ever.
That's cool. Yeah.
It was always open campus. When they closed campuses,
so I'm curious, when did they close campuses? And then, like, for you guys, I mean, was it like, man, this stinks, I can't believe they did that? Or were you already out of school?
I was out of school.
Oh,
so
okay.
I graduated in 84. Shout out to 84.
Class of 84, man.
Class of 84.
Yeah. Much love to them.
I still have my Van Halen 1984 sticker. You gotta have that.
Where'd you stick it on? Like,
it's in my studio, my room.
Yeah.
My music room.
Got it up there.
Got it up there. So, I want to say it had to be the late 80s 88, 89 when they closed campuses.
Okay. So you were out for a little bit.
If you ever interview my wife, then she graduated in 91, so you'll have to ask her if she remembers that. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a lot of freedom. Everybody heading to Sonic or, Dairy Queen at lunchtime.
So is it a matter like of people just, more on foot to get where they wanted to go, and life just was, that kind of, I don't know, like. Did it seem simpler because there was just not as much, I don't know, what's the word, like possible paranoia for one's safety, or is it just kind of like...
Well, you didn't have that craziness and those who work at Formosa, the craziness of the traffic.
So we didn't have the Formosa 500 yet.
No,
and
not at
so
all.
that wasn't as much of a concern then.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, I
could see that.
It was, you had Alcoa, you had Formosa, but, Formosa was still the old plant.
Okay.
And everybody who was going to work was already there, and so they didn't really come into town at lunch like they do now. Yeah. And now you go around at lunch and you'll see, Formosa jumpsuits everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was different times, of course.
I can see that then.
We're talking about, late 70s to the early 80s, you know. But I always say we grew up in the best times, you know, because 80s music is going to live forever.
I can't deny it, man. Even now with a lot of the media, films, music, there's a ton of references to the 80s. You know,
You walk into any department store,
rose again,
and what do you hear on the speakers playing in the background?
Yeah.
You go to Lowe's, Home Depot, and you hear 80s music.
Yeah.
You know.
And when you're in the 80s, you weren't hearing, you know, like that rose up, and it wasn't like you probably saw the 40s, 50s, 60s music coming back again. It wasn't like there was a resurgence of that. It was just like all 80s, you know. And here you are again. Man, what a, I don't know. I guess not that it's the trend, right? That apparently makes, you know, things like that stick. But at the same time, like, it must feel kind of nice being of that generation that apparently never dies. Like just having it, you know, kind of come back and be cool again. You know,
and this was, you know, all the techno, synthesize, all that stuff, you know, was just coming into play. I remember the first time Eddie Van Halen played piano, everybody thought, what, you know, what's this guy doing on a piano, on keyboards? This is a guitar player. He's the best guitar player in the world. You know, it was a shock to us when all that started coming into play, you know, and then you watch Devo, people who remember Devo, you know, guys with pots on their head. That's what it looked like, you know. Yeah. We're watching on when MTV came around. Yeah. You know, got to see all that happen. Right. You know, they created Apple, the Enterprise, the one that they took, you know, from NASA, not the Star Trek one. Yeah. You know, the first space shuttle. It was unveiled in the 70s. So all those things that we got to see, you know, growing up, it was something, you know, but it just seemed like technology somebody hit the fast forward button, and next thing you know, we're just moving on to everything else. Nothing, you know, when everybody had a 8-track player. Yeah. You know, I used to have an 8-track player. And the sound it made whenever it changed tracks, you know, everybody remembers that. And having vinyl, you know, when a DJ played somewhere, if he didn't have it, he didn't have it.
True. We couldn't Google a song and download it and put it back in the mix. Yeah. Give me a second. What's the title? Yeah.
So it was just
man, vinyl came back too.
It did come back.
I mean, here we are recollecting vinyls again. That's kind of like the, you know, if for audiophiles, you know, to get that right off the record experience, it definitely came back. A lot of albums now are released both CD and almost like vinyl is no longer vogue. It's like, it's a must, you know?
Yeah. Well, the sound of a needle going across, you know, an album is you know, they imitate it for certain songs, you know, but it's distinctive, you know, and then being able to back up your album. You know, who's the first guy that thought of that? You know, hey, I can go
listen to it backward. Oh, and then do the mixes.
And then they start, you know, hey, let's use it for rap music. You know?
Scratch some records, man.
Yeah. And I'm thinking you're ruining a record.
I know. See, that's the thing that, like, for me, I think is fun to see because. I mean, I came in the grunge years, 90s grunge rock, you know, new metal. That's like my thing, you know. I listen to a lot of hard rock. And then, of course, coming from a religious family, they had me listen to a lot of Christian music. And still, you know, you're in middle school and high school and you still hear the music of the day. But that's what I'm just thinking is funny is that, for some, that kind of has stayed with them. I think a lot of times we listen to our music that we grew up with that shaped and molded us, and that's kind of like our records for life, you know, like we kind of have our albums that we probably go back to and re-listen to.
And that's true. And I guess the older I get, the more I listen to a lot of jazz now.
Really? Jazz? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I listen to a lot of jazz. And I think I listen to it more for just the way it's composed, you know, just the musicianship, you know, how how technical it really is.
Okay, I
but
can
it's
see that.
not. It sounds like they're all each playing a different song, but they come together at the right points, and it interests me.
Yeah.
When Amy and I went to San Antonio, and there was a little jazz band playing. They had never played together before. It's like a hodgepodge of people that ran into each other that evening, and they said, "Hey, we're going to be playing at this spot on the Riverwalk."
Yeah.
And so a couple of them get started, and you see a guy show up with an amplifier. He'll show up and sets it down and plugs in his guitar and just jumps right in and starts playing right along with them.
Yeah.
And that's just a long time of playing. Just being, and so what. Speaking of playing, so what got me into music was watching. Like I said, my dad was a musician and a carpenter. So my dad started a Spanish, a conjunto band,
I'm not even going to try to say it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so
okay.
with David Valadez, they started La Guerra Musical. And shout out to David, he still has it going.
Still to this day.
To this day. Yeah.
Where, I'll just ask, like, where can someone find the band?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, in today's age, there is hardly any place, music venues around here,
Yeah.
And then with COVID, of course, that just hurt everything else. But I know that they'll still do, weddings, or they'll play in Victoria, New Year's.
So you can still schedule them.
Yeah, you can still schedule them.
That's great.
Man. So my dad, that started that band. So I would listen to them practice in our garage. And I would look through the window, and I'd watch, and I was young, and I'd always wanted to play the drums. Always wanted to play the drums. And my dad didn't want me to have a drum set. He bought me a guitar, a bass. He just, and why he didn't want me to have a drum set? They're noisy.
Noisy.
Yeah.
So he thought if you had your own amp, you put your headphones in the amp,
That's
and you
it.
can just
string
away. Yeah.
So he bought me, it was a Ventura guitar, hollow body. I wish I had it now, and then a Fender bass. And so, all those that he had got, but I wanted to play drums. And finally I got me a drum set, after I graduated, I got me a drum set. And, I just.
So you didn't start playing till you were a senior or
19?
19?
Yeah,
or
I was
no,
out of high school.
post high school.
I was out of high school, yeah. Yep. But I would have drumsticks or pencils,
Okay.
I was always beating on whatever I could, keeping the beat to whatever I was listening to.
Yeah.
And so when I got the drum set, it just had to figure out the coordination, and hey, I'm playing. My brother who played guitar, he got his guitar out, and I think one of the first songs that he and I played right off the bat within the first month was some "Smoking" by Boston.
Okay.
And it was fun, and I was hooked. That was it.
Yeah.
My
so
first
it
song,
felt like this is you. Like, okay, I can express myself. Like,
Yeah.
I can just
so
go to
probably
town.
a year later, I get contacted. They're having a 50s class reunion at the time, so we're talking 85.
Okay.
And so they wanted to. They said, we got a guy that actually the drummer for my dad's band was going to be the drummer for them, and they needed somebody that could play rock and roll.
Yeah.
And that knew the songs, and so they asked me to play. So he would play up there when they were going to play the Spanish music, and so we actually had 2 drum sets set up there on stage. This is crazy.
It is.
But so the first song I ever played on stage was "House of the Rising Sun," and
there you go.
And what's crazy is if you listen to the song, there's not very much drums in it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the heck out of myself.
Yeah. You're like, I'm present for the
That's
beat.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. I want to be the best air drummer that you can have. No, but I was hitting the drums, but it's fun. And I've been in a blues band. I was in Blues and More with Bobby Bearfield had the band, and Annette King. Shout out to Annette. If you go get your inspections done at Diamond Inspection,
Yeah.
Annette.
Yep.
She's a phenomenal singer.
I didn't know that, man.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
cool to know.
She's phenomenal, and she could work that crowd. I mean, it was fun.
Wow.
It was so much fun. We played festivals in Corpus and San Antonio. We went everywhere,
Yeah.
and it was a lot of fun. And then I got a plant job, shift worker. You know, and
That would take away your nights.
That takes away.
Yeah.
We were with Blues and More. We were playing, sometimes Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah.
And so I had to get out. So I left the band, and after a while, and maybe I'm getting too far ahead of myself as far as.
No, that's fine.
After a while, I had that itch again,
Yeah.
and so I had gotten married, living at the end of Birkdale Street,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm there, and I had to find some place to set my drums up. So I built a little room next to the house. Put carpet on the walls. I went to Jecker and I said, "Hey, do you have any carpet you're pulling out of somewhere you don't want and I can have?" And so the room was all kinds of colors.
Okay.
It didn't all match.
Hey,
It
was
free.
It was free.
Yeah. So I did the room, and I had my drum set in there and set everything up, and I would just sit in there, and of course inside I thought, man, this is soundproof. Never, because I can't play the drums and go outside and see what it really sounds like. Never realized that the neighbors could hear me very well.
I love that you said very well.
Yeah.
How do you who broke the news to you?
The neighbors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
They knock on you?
No,
Okay.
they would just tell me. And we did have our fine police department show up a couple of times. Oh yeah, just to turn it down.
Just say, hey man, do you have some drum pads or something to hit?
Well, it was 11 o'clock at night and stuff, so
okay.
it was a little late. But I've always just enjoyed playing the drums, and I used to have that big, Van Halen, or just that big 13 piece. If I could buy another drum and fit it in there, I would.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what was chimes or rototoms. I just kept adding on and adding on.
Yeah.
And funny story. I used to live on George Street when I was still single. I just when I came back when I was out of high school and I didn't want to go back home.
Yeah.
So I was living at the end of George Street in a mobile home. I was renting, and a mutual friend of ours.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew her. She lived close by, and I had the drum set up in that mobile home.
Right.
And so I would go back there, and after I get home from work, and I would just wail on those.
Yeah. Punish these drums.
Mobile homes don't have very thick walls.
Yeah.
So, and they surely don't have thick windows.
Yeah.
So I would, a good hour, easy. And I'd finish the evening, go to bed and for work the next day. It wasn't until here recently, she told me that her mom used to hear me playing those drums, and she'd always say, "That boy needs to be playing for Jesus."
He needs to, lo and behold.
Lo and behold, right? Now
Yeah.
I'm the drummer at Parkway Church, right?
Man. Yeah. Look at that. She was over there prophesying, didn't even know.
I
it.
know.
He needs to be
I
playing
told
for
her.
Jesus.
I told her.
So I'm curious to know, how would she know you weren't playing for Jesus? Was the music loud enough for them to hear the music too?
No,
Because I'm
I think
if it's just the drum playing,
if you heard the drums,
they sound like unJesus beats.
Well, I mean, Ozzy Osbourne, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. I'm pretty sure.
Man, they have some interesting drum parts like that.
Yeah. Well, I was young, a lot younger, and a little more limber, to be able to. Now I'm doing good just to hang on to the drumsticks through a whole.
Oh no, you
4
do great.
songs, Yeah. But not to cramp up everywhere.
Yeah. No, it's a workout, man. Not everybody, knows that. I mean, because I think they see the sitting down part.
Yeah.
And
but
so it's like, how hard could it be? And it's like, dude, you'll sweat.
Since you do know how to play drums, I keep saying one day we're going to get you to go in.
They're going to rope me in the box.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh.
Put you in our box, and you can preach from the box.
Preach from the box. Well, it's something that I'm glad that you can kind of share that appreciation with music and to the detail that is coming from a musician, you know. So it's fun. I'm glad you brought it up. You know, it's like we're talking about music, and it's like, well, yeah, music's important to you because it's been a big part of your life.
It has.
You know, seeing it in your family, and then also something that you've done for, I mean, you know, all these decades, going
Right.
back to just that little bit of, here's a guitar and a bass, and yet, so what if it wasn't those instruments? It still found a way to be, you know, for you to express.
Right now, I have a room full. I mean, I have 5 guitars, you know, 2 basses, piano. I just felt, you know, got to have it. If it's there, somebody will play it.
Yeah.
You know, if the guys ever showed up and we're hanging out and you say, man, you know, we ought to have a little jam session.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, guess what? I already have the instruments in the room.
Yeah.
Let's go have that jam session.
Yeah. That's a very intricate setup. And I love that you know, that's part of who you are. You share it. You know, you don't just kind of lord it and keep it for yourself. You're like, all right, like who's learning?
Well, I mean,
who needs a space?
Music's universal. You know, to sit and watch somebody create music, you know, as you said, big part of the family. Well, you know, our grandson, who just turned 14 yesterday, has been playing piano for Parkway for 2 years.
Yeah, at least 2 years now.
2 years now. Well, he's only been playing piano for just over 3 years.
Yeah.
And you put COVID in the mix, so he only had like maybe 10 lessons through all the pandemic, the lockdowns and everything.
Yeah.
You know, so to watch him, you know, just excel. He plays piano, he plays drums, and he loves it.
Yeah, he does. Like he's a sponge right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, what a great time to pick up music is what I hear is when you're young. I mean, kind of like the younger the better. And he's showing up. I mean, multiple instruments. I mean, how many instruments is he?
He has 2 instruments under his belt. He'll pick up the guitar, and you know he's learning it. But you know, I need to keep him focused on on what he has right now.
Sure.
You know, and school, of course.
School's important, which thankfully it's good to know that he's doing well on that front.
Yeah.
So not to make his ears burn right now, but
I know,
you know, it's, hey, you know, you got to give props while it's due.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm curious, did your dad play the guitar? Like why was the guitar so important? Oh no, you said it was because it was less noisy.
Less noisy. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, and see, it was a hollow body, so I really didn't even need an amplifier because it was a hollow body.
Yeah.
You know, sit in the room and just play. But you know, it was what he played. He called the bajo secto.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took a 73 Stratocaster and he added 2 strings to it.
Yeah.
I still have that guitar. And so, you know, that guitar has stories of its own because it was stolen from him. They got through playing in Victoria. They went to what is now Victoria Cafe, I believe, right there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know, I think, what was it before? Skillets? Kettle. I think it was.
Man, I know your guess is better than mine.
Yeah. So they parked a van. You know, they had all their instruments in a van.
Yeah.
So they parked the van, went in to eat, and somebody broke into the back door and stole all the guitars. And so Dad went to, you know, he figured he wasn't going to get it back, so he went to a pawn shop to try to buy another guitar for the following weekend. And the guy at the pawn shop says, hey, you know, he tells him the story that his guitar was taken. And he said, it's very, you know, you'll know it because it has 2 extra strings. And the guy told him, I know who has your guitar. And so he got it back, but it had been sanded down. The original finish on it was gone. It had been sanded down.
What would be the reason for someone to sand a guitar?
I don't know. What would be the reason for somebody to steal the guitar?
Oh, okay. Well, then again, maybe change it up from maybe so it's not, but the strings
but it
gave
was
it away.
disassembled. It was disassembled when he took it to pawn it off.
Gotcha.
You know, but he got it back, and so one of the members of the band that he had was painted cars.
Okay.
So Dad didn't send it off to somebody who refinish his guitars.
Yeah.
He took it to the guy that paints cars, and they hung it up in the body shop and put a nice glittery black paint job on it. And
hey, man, it works.
And that's the way it's been
Since.
Yeah, I have pictures of my dad up on stage playing the guitar, and my dad's recorded albums. I have albums that my dad was involved with and recorded, and a lot of the albums I have or have seen, I didn't know of. And when my dad passed away, people came from California that had recorded with my dad.
Wow.
And it was just a very interesting, thing to find out, that we never knew. My dad never talked about it, and so we didn't.
That's such an old school way to live life, right? Like, I feel like because my grandparents and those that, my uncles and family that I have around, sometimes I find things out about them later that they just didn't share. Yeah. Not that there were bad things.
It just didn't seem important to them. It was nothing to them. I mean,
yeah, it was just them living life and going on to the next thing. And then you hear about it and you're like, dude, that is cool. Like, how come you didn't tell me? And, you know, if it was needed to be found out, people would know.
I haven't recorded an album. Well, I take that back. We recorded a gentleman contacted us one time, and he wanted us to record a song that he had written.
Yeah.
And so he came over and we rehearsed the song, drove to San Antonio to a studio he had rented, and we recorded it. I'm sure, we just recorded our parts and headed back home. But so somewhere there is a recording that I played drums on.
There you go. You recorded official.
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah. I had someone that asked me to get involved with a potential recording.
Really?
And I, unfortunately, I think this was like 2011. I was going to Victoria College, and man, I think I was nervous, man. I didn't bug them. I think I could have been in the recording, but I think it was a lack of confidence that I didn't pursue it. They would have 100% let me record if I would have probably followed up with a phone call at least. And I didn't even do that because I was kind of hoping they would find someone else. Because that's kind of what I told them. They were like, no, we want you. You're fine. Let's do it. And I'm like, sure. And I didn't follow up and call or anything. And,
well, and it's, I guess I'm sort of the same way because, even for church, I take it where I try to learn exactly as it is.
Right.
And, I'm trying to mimic people that probably, I'm sure, went to school and learned to play the proper way. And I say proper because there's a lot to, drumming isn't just beating on.
Yeah, no, you got to,
there's timing.
If you're off, people notice.
Yes, especially the rest of the band.
Well, the band will.
If you're ever watching
a band,
if you're ever watching a band and you see them all turn their head to the drummer, he has done something wrong. And everybody is off.
Man, there's some videos that come to mind that have been captured where the drummer would just kind of do their own thing, and you just kind of see the band trying to be nice, but they're obviously like all upset. Like,
the Oceans video. If you've ever seen the video,
we may be talking about the same one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's like he's playing Oceans rock and roll style, and everybody else is doing it church style.
Yeah, like one of these is not like the other.
But
as you were saying, so you were I kind of interrupted there.
No,
sorry about that. You were talking about the recording that your father did, and for him it was just another piece that you found out later.
It was nothing that most of it. Now the ones I have, some of the ones I knew about was with some gentlemen from here in Port Lavaca.
Okay.
But the ones from these other bands, I thought who are they? I have one a small what is it, a 45? I can't even remember now.
Oh yeah.
The smaller record.
Oh yeah, we have some. Well, I had some.
Yeah, the smaller record. I have one that my dad recorded. He wrote. It's about my sister, my youngest sister. And it's neat. I mean, he wrote a song, for my sister, and they recorded it, and I have that record, hanging in that room, and
that's cool.
It's just neat, But as I said, my dad provided well for us. We never went without, he just wasn't a present father.
Mm.
Because being a musician in a time where he played every weekend. So Friday and Saturday, he'd get out of work and he'd be gone. And so he wasn't a present father, but he's my father. I love him. That there's nothing that's going to change that, sometimes, it would become our household would become, a violent, their marriage was strained, I guess, because of it.
Yeah.
So it was part of my upbringing, though. The one thing about me, you get the good, the bad, and the ugly. I don't, I'm not going to tell you that I had a complete wonderful upbringing. Everything was, unicorns and rainbows.
If only, man. If only.
Yeah.
We had that.
Yeah. No.
But we aren't who we are if that's the case, right?
That's right. Yeah, and that's what I've said that before. Everything I've been through made me the person I am today.
Yeah.
And I think it makes you, as you go through life, make those choices, that where you might have gone a different way hadn't you experienced everything,
right.
That you've experienced, and as I said, earlier, being the brother that, learned different things in life, my little sister, I got sick with COVID earlier this year, and she called me worried. She said, you got to get better. Who am I going to call when my garage is broken?
Mm-hmm.
So I told her one time, I said, did you Google garage door opener not working, and it gave you my number?
That's funny. Yeah. Did it say Roland Cantu under
call Roland
troubleshooting?
Yeah. When you get the warranty, is it my name on there? I need to talk to him about that. Yeah. But I always tease my sisters about that, but it's good to be needed.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad, you're piecing that together. I mean, like you said, you had an upbringing with a family that was definitely busy. I mean, if your father was a musician and doing construction work on homes, I mean, and then like you just said, you're like, hey, it wasn't a perfect household, but you picked up some things that you probably had to learn just through, I would imagine you learned a lot of things about independence, and then also about, if things or situations played out in ways that weren't ideal, life still goes on.
Right.
And so for you, I mean, there's an appreciation for when you're not in want, or if you're in a situation where you can help other people or meet needs, you don't take it lightly.
No, I mean, and I think, and everybody's in their own place in life, but I think if you can help somebody,
right.
And that can be in many different ways, right? There's so many different opportunities, I'm sure, that can present themselves. I mean, there's just so many little things you can do. Chivalry is not dead. I mean, it's just, there's some society's trying to kill it, but and it's true, because
we
see that, in all due respect, I mean, women deserve everything else. Everything is as men do, but holding a door open for a lady is, to me, is always a good thing. You respect them, and so I've been with Amy 28 years, and I still get the door for her. It's something that just what I do, and as I look at my son and my grandson, and I see them doing it, at least hey, it's sure it's going to continue. It's
passing on. There, you got your son who's going to carry that on, and you got your grandson who's doing that. And it's hard to go wrong by being kind,
right?
And having that awareness of, like, in this situation, what could I do,
right? And it's a little light that you shine on somebody else, that you know, they always say pass it forward, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and you don't realize without saying anything, that may happen,
Yeah.
and you'll never know about it. You'll never, you know, you don't have to worry about the pat on the back
Right.
or anything like that. But you know, that little bit you did may have sparked that to go forward, and
They take it there.
yeah,
And, you know, you may not see it, but they, you know, bring that kind gesture, internalize it, and then maybe make a different decision when it comes to the chance of them being able to help.
yeah,
You know, then they take it. You know, I was going to definitely, you know, dote on you a little bit, and we'll get there. But before that, you know, I was thinking maybe I could just ask you, you know, for you, when you were on the receiving end of that, I mean, what were some, like, maybe a couple of, like, man, thank God that those people, you know, gave me a hand and, you know, helped me whenever I was in a situation that wasn't ideal, that maybe kind of affected how you saw situations moving forward?
Well, a lot of people know, but some of my more recent friends
Okay.
don't know. But see, I was married. Amy is my second wife, and
And I didn't even ask you, like, hey, so you grew up from a family of 7, but currently what's your family like now? Like your husband to Amy now, and
right, and
two children.
and we have 2 children, and
Yeah.
and 5 grandchildren.
5 grandchildren,
Five
man.
grandchildren.
So you're
And,
doing great.
Yeah, so life is good.
Yeah.
You know, life is good. You know, but so I was married before, and we had Hannah,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in that marriage, and when we split up and began our divorce, well, I was fighting for custody. So for a little while, right off the bat, I had Hannah with me. Well, I used to. Well, let me tell you.
You're gonna wean into that.
Yeah, I'm going to wean into it. I'm going to wean into it. So I used to be a repo man.
Yeah,
If
I
anybody
know.
wants to know I have the easiest phone number to remember. 920 repo.
They're still,
Is my phone number.
man.
And so I used to be a repo man, and the way I got into that is so when I started to get divorced, I had just bought a car from a used car lot, and you know, I'm thinking I can't afford to pay for this car and pay an attorney so I can get for this divorce, this battle I'm going to have in front. So I talked to the gentleman from the car lot, and I was able to take the car back and sell it on his lot.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as I made what I owed on it, we were good.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul. And so I was able to do that. Well, he understood that, you know, I was needing the money.
Yeah.
So I went on, and he called me up and he said, "Hey, I got some people that aren't paying their car payment. Would you be interested in going to pick up the car? It's good money." And so I said,
Repo origin story here. Yeah.
"Why not? You know,
sure.
what else do I got to do?"
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and I did that for probably, you know, as a side job
Right.
for about 5 years.
Because at that time you were you can correct me if I'm wrong, but were you working electrical or AC at that time?
I was doing AC, air conditioning at Hayes Electric. Yeah.
At Hayes Electric.
Yeah. I was doing my first AC job was the Bauer Community Center.
Okay.
That was my first air conditioning job. They taught me how to solder copper, handed me the blueprints to the Bauer, put me in the truck, and said, "Go to work.
Make it happen.
And make it happen."
Mm.
And so the Bauer Community Center was my make it or break. I mean, it was a lot of.
No, I was thinking maybe you could start with like a home or
It was
something smaller.
It was a learning experience.
Wow.
I had a lot of burn marks,
Oh yeah.
you know, from touching that copper when it was still too warm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you started already, you know, kind of putting in the work that is still a part of the community today.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's neat, you know, being born and raised here, and I want to say mom and dad came here in the early 50s, and you know, my dad was being a carpenter. Well, Brook Hollow was being built. There was still houses going up in Brook Hollow, the original Brook Hollow, and there's homes, you know, that we would drive by, and Dad would tell us, you know, we framed that house, we put cabinets in that house, and so, you know, and what's crazy now is that I do that with my kids. You know, that's I built that house. I built that house. You know, and
Yeah.
it's neat. So a part of me
Yeah.
is always in my part of my.
You never know. You might be
here.
you might be leaning on a wall or something that, you know,
Well,
you had some.
So growing up, Tangerine Edition. If you live in Tangerine Edition, I probably framed your house. So
A lot of homes went up there.
a lot. I think we framed all but 3 homes in that.
Golly. Okay.
And so Amy, when I met her, I was still working at Hayes.
Yeah.
And she was living with her mother in Tangerine.
Okay.
So I told her, you know, I said, somewhere in that house, because when we were framing the house, if it was a hot day,
Right.
we would write on a stud or something,
Yeah.
the date and the temperature. And so a lot of those Tangerine homes didn't have the garage finished out. Like nowadays, you go into somebody's garage and it has sheetrock or it's finished out.
Right.
Back then, you know, it was just open studs.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to pick her up, you know, for lunch or something one day, and we were talking outside, and I look in the garage, and there was my name in her mom's garage, the date and temperature.
Wow.
On a stud.
Yeah. You were like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
like,
I mean, yeah, I knew we framed the house.
yeah. You're
know.
like, let me look around a bit.
Yeah.
Found it. That's cool.
But yeah, that's there was a mark in every one of those homes somewhere.
And I know, you know, just because I'm going to throw out like a lot of questions. So I probably kind of got you off when you were sharing a bit about where you started off as a repo, but it kind of came out of the goodwill and kind gesture of someone.
Right. So as working for Hayes and you know, when I gave up that car and I had Hannah with me, I lived at the end of Birkdale, which is, I don't know, maybe 6 blocks from Hayes, 7 blocks from Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
And so the daycare that I would take her to was on the other side of Austin Street. And so I would walk her to daycare,
Yeah.
drop her off, and then I would walk to work to Hayes. And so J.V. Hayes, you know, he's a great man. He saw me walk up one day and he said, where's your car? And I told him the story and I had to give it up. And I went on to work. You know, I went to the job site. And when I got back to the shop that day, there was I want to say it was I don't know. It was a Regal. And if people that remember the Regals, it was a 4-door Regal. And it was a car. He said,
yeah.
He said, there's your car. Pay me back when you can, how you can.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think he charged me $3,000 for it, $2,000 for it. It was nothing. And, you know, but I saw that, you know, hey, you know, he did that for me.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, you can say that planted that seed that told me, hey, when you see somebody in need,
Right.
if you can help them,
Yeah.
do it.
There's a way that that you were shaped, you know, in a positive way, you know, just that little bit of a nudge of like, man, you know, there's some good out there, and you know,
no matter what's happened before, when you have something that positive happen to you, I mean, it's a car,
right?
You know, he just handed you a car. It wasn't free, but still, it was something that you didn't have 8 hours ago,
right? And like now you have transportation.
My intentions were that I was going to have to walk as soon as I clocked out. I was walking to pick up Hannah, and then walking home. Man,
so there's a lot that goes into your story, man. You know, I'm thinking, you know, you did after the first marriage, you were the single dad. Thankfully, you met an awesome woman. You know,
I did. Amy is so if everybody's wondering who's Amy is, and I'm sure everybody
she may have cut your hair.
Anybody who's listening, you know, Amy from the barbershop, from Coastal Barbershop, you know, so that's how everybody knows me. Oh, you're Amy's husband. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm that person. I need to get a shirt.
Amy's husband?
Yeah,
is
I
that
need
what
to
it
get a
should
shirt.
say?
I'm Amy's husband.
Yeah.
And everybody will talk to me. But you know, I'm sure she's cut many people's hair that might be listening. You know, and you know, I met her. Hannah was 3 years old.
Yeah.
and we everything seemed to just go good. I mean, we hit it off, and it just seemed like her and Hannah. For by that at this time, my divorce is final. I have custody of Hannah. I know that this is what I do. I'm a dad first, and making for the time before I met Amy, I was making birthday cakes, and I learned to decorate cakes.
Yeah.
I was Mr. Crocker. I wasn't Betty Crocker. I was Mr. Crocker.
That's funny. I mean, whatever it takes, right?
That's right.
You're like, hey, I'll do it.
That's right. And so, but I still wasn't a great cook. I just cooking's not my thing. If it comes out of a box, I can do it.
Yeah.
But from scratch, you're really pushing it with me. But but no, I mean, I met Amy, and we hit it off, and her and Hannah hit it off, and that was 1993 that I met Amy. She was 19 years old.
Oh, really? Okay.
About to be 20.
Yeah.
So it's February.
Man, y'all are so young, man. I think about it that way.
I wasn't.
Gotcha.
I'm 8 years older.
Okay.
Than Amy.
Hey, man, could be 12, could be 15.
I know,
so 8's
I
not
know.
too bad. You weren't double digits older.
I know. But there was no cradle.
There was no cradle, man. You didn't, rob no cradles.
That's right. That's right. But, it, so we met February 6th, and we had our first, I won't call it a date. We just watched some movies on Valentine's that following.
Hey, Valentine's Day. Okay.
Yeah, that following week. And that's just it. We've been together ever since, Here we are, it's still laughing, still cutting up, teasing each other. And I think that's just what's made, our life together work,
How many years again?
28?
28 years, man. That's beautiful.
28 years. Yeah. And, I won't say that they've been all.
Oh my gosh, no! I mean, there's no way.
Yeah,
we dude, and I can go on a huge rant about it because I get it, and I'm still learning myself. But I mean, marriage it's tough, it's raw.
It is.
I mean, you're gonna always be confronted with, the areas of growth that are there for the taking. But we're not always motivated. And, it's kind of like that choosing love daily because of the family and because of that, the reality that it's not just about you. You kind of have to face that head on every day.
Well, it's kind of like we do our kids, hey, you have to share your toys.
Oh, yeah, that's a good example.
When you get married, you have to learn to share.
Yeah, it's not just you living.
That's right.
Well, and you brought up about, and I know you didn't say this to be hard on your dad, but you just said, hey, look, you noticed that, your father could have been more present, and
I know.
And
it was tough, seeing that in our family, but, and I don't want to say that it was okay. You just kind of, we're talking the 70s, growing up with this. So you kind of grow accustomed to it. You become numb to it.
Well, and it's your normal.
Right. That's right.
And so you don't there's nothing really to compare it to. You're just like, well, that's what it's like.
Yeah. I mean, because, we didn't have the internet and cell phones and, we didn't know. I mean,
you just had the Brady Bunch on TV though.
That's right.
You're like, oh, okay.
And we weren't that family,
Yeah. It's just like, I just know we're not them.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it.
Our thing, because we had one TV. So we mostly, when Dad was home, we were watching Gunsmoke. And Rifleman. Those were the two we had to watch, and so I still remember going out with the channel locks to adjust the antenna so we could get the picture better.
Man, he was like the foreman, and he had his crew there, I guess.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
It was like, hey, man, couldn't something be done about? He goes, I know I got a lead man, to fix that antenna.
And we had the console TV with the smaller TV sitting on top of it. Mm-hmm. The pyramid. I think that's where a pyramid scheme first came from. You know, they started stacking the smaller and smaller TVs on top of each other.
And they thought like
This is the way
this
to
could
do
sell.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
this will sell. But you know,
Well,
it's just the way we were.
Yeah, well, and the reason I ask is because, meeting you, a few years back, I could definitely see and get that feel from you that you love your family dearly,
Oh, I do.
and you definitely center a lot of what you do in mindfulness of for one, just like people planted good seeds in you and things you learned along the way, you want the very best, and so some of that's going to look. For folks, they may say it's insistent, but you do things because you care. You're going to say, hey, look, I think this could be better. For my family, I think we can, like you wanted to, teach your son. I would imagine, though there was that, it takes courage. You don't just say, okay, well, that's okay, it's whatever. You have those moments of like, well, hey, I'm going to be right here with you. And this is the kind of family legacy that we're trying to build,
And it, raising Hannah, because Hannah and Reed are 11 years apart. So
yeah, they have two different generations.
Yeah, a whole genre of music.
Yeah, I know.
So
yeah.
So but raising a girl, as those of you who have raised girls, it's a whole different task, you
Right.
know, and you learn a lot of lessons as you raise a daughter. And Hannah can tell you that I was harsh. I guess I was. I don't want to use the term mean. I'm sure she would have.
Oh, okay.
But I just felt a little more. I had to be stern. Somebody made a comment or asked a question the other day. What do you think teenagers need today? And my response was good parents. Because if you have good parents, and that can come in many different forms. But be involved with your kids. They're our future.
Mm-hmm.
One day we're going to be sitting in a nursing home. I hope not, Amy.
I know you're like,
Yeah.
You're on your best behavior from this point on.
That's right.
Make sure that
That's right.
that's
I'll be the one sitting on the front porch, just sitting there drooling all over myself. But no, I don't.
You're like, I don't wish that on myself. We'll
We'll
scratch
have
that.
to edit that out. Yeah. But I just felt I was a little tougher.
Sure.
But I was working at the plant, and so I was working shift work, and I missed a lot. Working shift work.
Yeah.
And I feel for you. 16 years of shift work. So you shift workers out there, I feel for you. It's tough. It's tough. Those of you who don't work shift work, you have to understand that a lot is missed. Working shift work, and
it really is a different pocket of reality in a way, because when most folks are up, you're down.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
It's great. It can get crazy, But and so with Reed. And I guess with Reed, Hannah was probably a teenager. She was a teenager when we started to get involved with church. I was raised Catholic, and not going to sit here and bash the Catholic Church or nothing, But I just felt I needed something different.
Okay.
Well, we did, Amy and I this wasn't a one-way streak. We felt different, and so. One day, Amy said, we need to find a church. She just felt that we needed to do something, raising a teenage girl,
Yeah.
And so, and we started to go to, at that time, Faith Family. So we were probably at Faith, I want to say 5 years.
Okay.
And so, then that's when a friend of mine, said that he's playing in the worship team with Parkway, and the worship leader was another friend of mine. Dave was a friend of mine, so I kind of said, "Hey, let me check that out. A chance to play the drums? You kidding me?"
Right.
Right. And that's where that he should be playing for Jesus now echoes.
Came full circle,
Yeah,
man.
echoes, right?
Yeah.
And so but with Reed, I tried to be. Let's put it this way: he'd get in trouble at school, and Reed learned early on. I don't want to hear from the teacher that you got in trouble. I want to hear from you. So he'd walk up to me when I'd pick him up, and he'd say, "I got in trouble today." What for? He'd tell me. We'll talk about it when we get home. And so here's a kid that, has a PlayStation or a Nintendo or PlayStation.
Some game, yeah.
This was all new, right? Back then. So he knew, I'm going to either take that away from him for a week, or he can get 3 licks. That boy chose the 3 licks every time.
There you go. He's like,
it's going to hurt.
Let's just face it head on.
That's
and
right.
Move on.
That's right. And but that's good if that's the way he wants to take the hard road first, in life.
My parents did the exact same thing. It was like you kind of had a ratio for everything. It's like, all right, we're gonna learn it either this way. You're gonna feel it either way. So just
that's right. And I think letting him make that choice, kind of change, made it different, right?
Yeah.
So, and don't think I made it easy on him.
Yeah.
He put his hands on the dresser.
Yeah.
Which had a mirror, so he could see what I was doing.
It's like insult to injury.
Yeah. But, don't come arrest me. I didn't abuse the kid.
Yeah. He's obviously doing great.
Yeah. Hey, he's a Marine now. So, he's doing well.
Yeah.
So, between me and Coach Whitaker, we didn't break him.
Yeah. If he didn't break or bend there, I think he's right. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it was just a different way of parenting that I took on. And it's great. I see Hannah, she's got 4 girls and my 1 son. And I see her being a parent and parenting with my son-in-law.
Yeah.
And, it's neat to watch them, be parents. And it's neat to watch my granddaughters give her, which I know which one's going to give her the most gray hair, right? The mini her.
Yeah. You're like, huh, man, isn't that gonna be fun?
No, Amy and I are high-fiving each other. Oh, this is gonna be great. We're gonna get.
Where's the popcorn? Yeah, we get to watch this.
Yeah, that's right. It's full circle coming around. But no, they're great. I love my family. I love when you hear the footsteps and them, everybody, they call me Pops.
Yeah.
Them coming out and hollering Pops, and and it's neat, to hear that from family, but it's neat to hear it from other kids, being involved with church.
Right.
We used to have student impact when Parkway first came to Puerto Vaca.
Yeah.
We had no place for students to meet. And so since we have a little room, we opened up our home, and on Mondays, we'd have student impact at our house, and it grew to 42 kids.
Man, y'all are like storing students under couch cushions at that point.
It was crazy. We had an RV, and then we kept it plugged in next to so we'd have to break up into different groups, and we would break it up into age groups. So each leader needed a place to kind of
huddle up, because
a young child, if they're amongst their own age group, they'll open up, they'll tell you exactly how they're feeling. So that's why we would do that. But it was crazy. Amy would cook and cut up fruit, and it turned into we weren't a cult or anything like that, right? So,
right, but again, that's part of the ministry is you got people who step in and serve, and I'm thinking, as we kind of land the plane here, what I find important though from you is that you definitely have had like this heart that you bring, with you where you go. Sometimes I think for some it may not be the easiest for them to discern it that way. I know I kind of mentioned that, there can be an insistence, or for some they may think, oh man, this guy, he's either stirring the pot or, maybe, he's kind of coming kind of hard, but in the background underneath all that is someone that understands that, hey, look, for people to be cared for, or for things to get better, or for there to be a solution that's met, instead of just talked about, some actions required, and you've made the sacrifice yourself, to meet certain needs. You're the kind of guy to me that I feel like it's kind of like how you shared about your dad, had done some cool things. You don't brag about it. You don't really go out of your way to tell people, hey, look at me, look what I did. It's just like for someone like me,
I'm not Stuart.
Oh, you're not Stuart?
You know Stuart?
No, who's this?
Stuart. What show was he on?
Oh, it's a show?
Yeah, he'd always say, look what I can do. Look what I can do.
Oh, is this Mad TV?
Yes.
That's hilarious. That's funny, man.
Is that on
I haven't. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mad TV is like a grown, like
It was a
6
grown-
foot something
yeah.
dude, and
And
he
he'd
had his
always
mom
try,
that
"Look
would
what
take
I
him
can do."
everywhere. Yeah, look.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. I haven't had. Man, that reference took me back. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, exactly. You're not someone that hits the gong and says, "Look at me." You just go out there and you do it, and in hopes that it's like, if it's of help, let it serve well, and you move on. And so anyway, that's just
and I feel like in being involved with the church, there are some kids that that don't have that father figure, or whatever
Yeah.
the case may be. And even if they do, I mean, seeing somebody else, Reed's dad, as I'm known to many.
Yeah.
You're Reed's dad.
you're
Or-
either Amy's
yeah,
husband,
Amy's
or
husband or
dad.
Reed's dad.
That's funny.
And then
Even though you drive around with the truck,
Yeah,
when
I
did
used to have
Coastal,
my name,
You
yeah.
used to have,
Yeah, I used
but
to have my
instead
name.
it's still,
But just to do that, and when we had those 42 kids, they all call me pops. They'll call me pops, and and that was something, that meant you meant something to these kids. You've grown that bond with these kids, and you're leaving a mark on them. And I may come across, I'm sure I to a lot of people, I come across as stern. I'm just, I don't want to. It's not that I don't want to have fun. It's that I'm always thinking of, we better stop the kids from doing this, because somebody's gonna break an arm, and
as someone that's been there,
yeah, someone has been there.
So you're thinking,
Yeah.
you're like, hey, look, I've lived a full life, and I think I can, raise some caution need be.
Yeah, I'm speaking from experience here.
Speaking from experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just I just feel that I've talked to some kids. If some we have grown people at church that are here from other places that
Yeah.
Eric calls me his dad away
Yeah.
from home.
You got a kid from Iowa
Yeah.
that showed up over here, and
Yeah.
and you're you became that mentorly fatherly figure that he got to have away from home.
So and I've told him, he comes up with some crazy ideas sometimes, and I'll say, no, Eric, that's not what you need to be
Rein
doing.
it in a bit.
Think this whole thing through.
Yeah.
Because sometimes he has these, he's an engineer, so I guess his mind's always churning.
A gear or two.
Yeah. And sometimes there might be a slip in one of those gears, and he comes up with some things he wants to build or something. But gotta love the guy. He's something else. He's a handful.
Right.
Hats off to his parents.
Yeah, I know. That's why he gives him a lot of props right now. He brings it up. He's like, I had good parents. He throws that in every now and then.
They must have lots of patience.
Lots of patience, man. Well, and I just kind of wanted to hear it from you and give an opportunity. Like I said, there's so much that goes to you that we could have probably spent hours on, but
we'll do it again.
We can do it again, man. And I think that's the idea. I enjoy people, getting to share and give a little bit more depth, to who they are. And I think maybe the last thing I kind of want to ask is, for me, I see like a drive, to do most with, the life you've been given, and so whether that's expression through music or whether that's through the needs you can meet with people. But I'm just kind of wanting to hear it from you. I mean, where do you think some of that maybe sense of urgency to get things done like comes from? Like,
well, I look at our life as, we started a journey. We started, and I don't want to sound morbid here, but we started dying the day we took our first breath. It's a journey.
And that's not untrue.
No, that's not
It's
untrue.
very true.
So, you started that journey when you took that first breath, and, that journey is going to end as you take your last. So someday somebody's going to stand at your headstone, and they're going to just see those 2 dates and whatever inscription they put on there. But what do you want to leave behind? And as I told you one day, in the cosmos of time.
In the cosmos of time.
We are but a fart in the wind.
That's, yeah.
And
again, not untrue.
Not untrue.
Yeah.
We're on here, God willing, for, 80, 90 years, and what are we going to leave behind in that time frame? What are we going to do with our lives?
Yeah.
Of course, be a good parent, be a good friend, a mentor, help people out, but, 5 generations from now, 4 generations from now, nobody's going to remember your name.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it, but musicians, you look back at Elvis Presley music.
Yeah. People are still not just listening, but they're still imitating Elvis,
right.
for better or for worse.
Michael Jackson. I mean, he went solo in 78, 79, and he's now everybody still knows. I remember when he went solo, and watching him on TV as a Jackson 5, all these people that, have left something behind. My dad, the albums that are hanging that I have, he may not be known worldwide, but he left something behind, and so I've always had that mentality. What can we leave? What can we do in this lifetime to leave our mark? And that's just how
how you roll.
That's how I roll.
That's great, man. And again, I would love to do this again. Like there's definitely more that goes into you, and I think there's things that you're going to be able to bring into this community and that you've done and will do in the future. That's kind of the thing. It seems like you're here to stay and stick around as a resident. So
depending on when we do it again, I am I'm going to start a new venture,
a new chapter
of my life.
Yeah.
In politics.
Yeah.
So I can't get into it too much because there's too many rules and things that
fun red tape. That comes with it.
As far as campaigning and stuff like that, I can't do it too early. But depending on when we do it again, maybe we can talk about.
We'll have more to talk about.
And
and that's what I'll definitely enjoy is just getting to see a little bit more get into more depth on what that role looks like in our own backyard, man, in our own town. And we need good people in the mix. So I'm definitely rooting for you.
I'm definitely it's as I said out in the plant.
Yeah.
I didn't come out, and this may come across bad,
right?
But it's a true statement. You go to work to work.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't come out here to make friends. I came out here to do a job. And that just that was my mentality. We need to do our job because, we are blessed to have a job.
Yeah.
And paid well.
Right.
And, so let's do it. And then, we can be friends after that.
Yeah.
And hang out.
Well, enjoy the fruits of the labor.
That's right.
It's like, hey, we can't have anything to celebrate or enjoy unless you put in the work.
Yeah, because if you want to be friends all through your job shift, then you might not have a job for very long.
Then you'd have plenty of time.
That's right.
To hang out, without work. But hey, thanks for taking the time. I mean, it's fun. I enjoyed hearing some of the history on PL and.
Hey, yeah. I mean, and there's still so much as far as Port Lavaca, what before Well, I mean, you grew up right down the road in Bloomington.
Yeah, my stomping grounds is a Bobcat over there.
Yeah, and then we can talk about how my son-in-law and you know.
Yeah, we're just a few grades apart. We were in the same Spanish class, and I'm pretty sure you learned more Spanish than I did because I didn't come out there with.
Well, yeah,
you know.
and for me, I speak Spanish, but I didn't learn it until I started working with Dad. So
that's an opportunity to learn.
Yeah, so you want to learn it, be forced into it. You got to start working with people that.
Well, it creates urgency.
It does.
You're like, man, I need to know this before the end of the day.
Especially when you're in construction, they might be telling you, "Hey, the wall's falling over," and you're thinking, "Hey, supper's almost."
He's telling
done.
me I'm doing a good job.
Yeah, that's right. You're my friend.
Yeah, he's like, gracias. Yeah. Well, hey, until next time, Roland, you take care.
All right.
We'll be in touch.
Appreciate it.